Welcome, everyone, to the second annual Omer Aliyah, a 7-week spiritual boot camp of personal elevation, or simply known as TOA. This is the fourth class of our 7-class empowerment series. My name is Nuriel Shor, and in partnership with Hashem, I'm the founder of the Omer Aliyah. Welcome to participants from the United States, Canada, Israel, England, Australia, and Uganda, who've joined us on this journey of holy transformation and spiritual evolution. The vision is for all Jews of all backgrounds around the world to be part of a global movement of revealing our individual and collective greatness through Sefirat Omer, the counting of the Omer. I want to take this moment to recognize and thank our various very generous sponsors who enable this initiative to be totally free of cost for all participants and simultaneously allow it to be sustainable, B'ezrat Hashem, long term. I'd also like to recognize and thank our various community partners who've joined forces in order to spread the mission of this initiative and to publicize it to as many people as possible. If you're interested in being a sponsor or a community partner or introducing me to those in those categories, you can always email me at omeraliyah@gmail.com. So the mission of the Omer Aliyah is to serve as a spiritual detox of the klipot, the barriers that are preventing us from accessing Hashem and our highest selves, while simultaneously building a foundation of spiritual power. Practically speaking, the essence of the Omer Aliyah is tikkun hamidot, repairing, refining, and elevating our character attributes based on the lower 7 Sefirot, which correspond to these 7 weeks. By emulating these divine attributes, we transform into conduits of peace, love, and blessing for ourselves, for others, and for all of creation. The structure of the boot camp consists of 4 in-person community gatherings in Los Angeles, 7 virtual empowerment classes taught by 7 teachers, and 49 days of individual learning and growth. For more information on the Omer Aliyah or to start your own local TOA community, wherever you are in the world, email me at omeraliyah@gmail.com. We are currently in the week of Netzach, and we have the zechut of having Benji Elson. Benji is a clinical psychotherapist, teacher of Torah, Jewish environmental educator, transformational experience facilitator, musician, and author living in Jerusalem. Benji has taught and led transformative experiences around the world, including in the US, Israel, Mexico, Canada, Turkey, and India. Benji is also a senior psychotherapist and staff member at Genesis Jerusalem, a premier mental health and addiction treatment center. Benji is also the author of Dance of the Omer, a step-by-step guide to the transformational journey of Sefirat Omer. This text is the origin point of why the Omer Aliyah exists today, and without it, we wouldn't be here in this way. So on a personal level, I have tremendous hakarat tov, gratitude to Benji for producing this masterpiece. Before we begin, a couple housekeeping remarks. This class is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Omer Aliyah YouTube channel, so please hold all your questions and comments until after the class finishes. I will then stop the recording, after which we will have an opportunity for open and confidential conversation with Benji. May Hashem bless the Omer Aliyah and all who are involved, so that Klal Yisrael may discover the greatness within and bring about individual, collective, and global geula speedily in our days. I now hand the class over to you, Benji.
Thank you, Nuriel. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be back here. I opened the whole thing last year. Let me just check because often my computer decides to lower the volume of my microphone. Yeah, there it did it again. Okay. Now I should be coming in a little bit louder. Okay. So I taught the first class last year, starting us off, and from what I saw and heard, it was a really amazing 7-week journey that you brought everyone on. So really kol hakavod to gathering everybody, spreading the word. Also grateful for you spreading my book, which is always helpful. So thank you for that. and it's a pleasure to be back here. So, hello everybody. That the faces that I can see, the names that I could see, and the people that are joining from wherever you are watching this video. I have you in mind as well. B'ezrat Hashem, hopefully you are connecting to the group that's here right now in this Zoom call. So we are halfway through. Yesterday actually was the exact halfway mark, and actually it depends if you're in yesterday or 2 days ago, depending on if the sun is still in the sky wherever you are. I'm in Jerusalem here. It's 10:15 p.m., so the sun is definitely set. So, but we're halfway through, and it's no coincidence that this is when Netzach shows up, and this is the week of Netzach, because really that's what we need during this week of Netzach, and actually, you know, as we're moving through, it's what we're doing this week that really brings us to Netzach and going to carry us through. So, what is Netzach? I'm not sure what everyone's shared over the past few weeks, but and how many of you have been following with my book and my system of the Dance of the Omer. But what we're entering into on the level of the water cycle, and if you're not familiar with what that is, and I encourage you to check out the book. We are going from the winds and the clouds of Tiferet into the storm of Netzach. And this is a real pivotal moment in this process of Sefirat Omer, because how I think of it, as we're moving also into the legs, right? We've been up in the top of the body, and now we're moving into the legs, and we're really moving into the world of action. Past 3 weeks have been much more inward focused in a lot of ways, unclogging ourselves so that we can open up into chesed, defining our boundaries so that energy that we cultivated in chesed doesn't just dissipate, but we can really cultivate our power. Tiferet, then we move into this very beautiful and also complicated world where we have been trying to reconnect with maybe because of the lack of boundaries that maybe we had before, reconnecting with those parts of ourselves that had been disconnected because of whatever we had gone through in life. And so in the week of Tiferet, we're working to reconnect those parts of ourselves, those lost identities, those suppressed parts of ourselves that have been disconnected. And through that, finding balance, through that, finding healing, and through that, really being able to step into Netzach, which is, well, I'll get to it in a second, because when we are able to reconnect with all those lost parts, then we're able to get to Netzach. So what is Netzach? So Netzach is then the storm. Netzach is the ability to go out into the world, to walk out confidently into the world and do things. Do actions, reach our goals, make concrete actions that affect ourselves, the people in our lives, our loved ones, and the entire world, ultimately, hopefully making it into a better place. And there's many different components that are crucial in us being able to do that healthily and effectively, because a storm, as we know, can either be destructive or it can bring the rain. And really, that's the purpose of a storm, right? The purpose of a storm is actually to bring the rain. It's not to knock down the trees or the telephone lines, or the people in at least Southern California might not know what I'm talking about. These storms, but you have your storms sometimes also. Right, so a storm could be destructive, and a storm can be very bring the rains and bring a lot of healing and blessing and purpose to our lives and to the world. So how do we make sure not to be a destructive storm, and instead to be a productive and constructive storm? So that connects to a bunch of the different layers that are in Netzach, and I think today We're not going to dive super deep into things. There's other platforms with me that you can explore things in a deeper level, but because we're in the context that we are, I'll go through the different aspects of Netzach and hopefully paint a cohesive picture of all these different elements and how we can hopefully be a constructive storm instead of a destructive storm. So there's really 4 different layers of Netzach. On the most simple level, Netzach literally means victory or eternality or eternity. It's not the most. It points us in a direction, but to really understand that, we need to take a few steps back. So on the most basic level, Netzach is power. It's might. It's if Chesed is immediately above it, right, which is flow and the flow of energy. Netzach sits underneath it on the map of the Sefirat. It's more mature form, and when we talk about more mature form, right, we've gone through some of the other Sefirat already. And it really means that it has more of a sense of purpose and a sense of responsibility, a sense of structure. And so as it's more mature form, it takes the energy of chesed, which is maybe a little too free, and able to hone it and be more precise. So it's the ability to take to power and might with precision, and so hopefully in a dominating role often, right? In a sometimes an overpowering role, but hopefully with the right intention, in a way that actually grants power to another, which is an idea that we'll explore more in a few minutes. So that's the first level, right? The actions that we take that are powerful, that are victorious, that are doing things in the world. Beneath that, right, we have our stamina and endurance, right? And this is connected to the eternality, right? The only reason why something is eternal, or the way that something is eternal, is if it has a lot of stamina and endurance and perseverance, and these things are what allow us to express our power in the world. If we didn't do that, then we'd be like Chesed. We just there little bits here and there. So it's really about cultivating stamina, endurance, perseverance, all these things on an even deeper level. How do we have that stamina and perseverance? Stamina and perseverance really means that in the face of failure, in the face of falling, we have the stamina and perseverance to get back up. So to be able to do that, we need to go even deeper, and it's really about building the confidence and courage to get back up in the face of failure, to learn how to fall in style, to learn how to fall in grace, with grace, and build our confidence and our courage. And courage is not living without fear, right? Courage is specifically when there is fear. That's when we're courageous. If we're not afraid, then we're just we're just merrily going along our way, right? It's when we are afraid and when we've actually tasted failure before that we need confidence and courage. And that's also how we build up confidence and courage. When we fall, we build that confidence and courage. In the book, the past couple of days of the teachings have been exploring these ideas. The Torah even tells us that in the Gemara that we can only really learn and acquire words of Torah when we stumble in them, right? It's really only the failure that allows us to really integrate lessons and really cultivate an ability to know what to do, to confidently walk into the world. So those are the first 3 levels. The last level, kind of with all of this put together, is really Netzach is about becoming and acting masterfully. Now, being masterfully is really about using our strength with precision. using our strength with the right strokes and tones and textures to really be able to create a masterpiece, to create something that brings goodness, effectiveness, beauty into the world. And this is what connects Netzach with another word that's of its root, which is lamnatzeach or minatzeach, a conductor, a musical conductor, someone that can orchestrate different things in the world. In the Godhead, or in the Sefirat that are the emanations of the divine in the world, this is the aspect of God where we can look at the world and it's clear and evident that there is a design behind things, right? There's a masterful plan behind things. This is what Netzach is, masterful plan behind things. Netzach is also the root of the visual, the auditory components of prophecy, right? The things that we can see. Hod is the auditory. Hod is the visual. It's a little bit late. I'm getting some things mixed up. Netzach is the auditory. Hod is the visual aspects of prophecy. That is a conversation for another time. Okay, so let's talk about some of the various elements of Netzach to paint a more cohesive and dynamic and interesting picture of what Netzach is. So, as we said, the energies that are within Netzach are might, are the ability to be victorious, to triumph, to conquer in a healthy way, perseverance, endurance, stamina, courage, confidence, eternality, and mastery. In the water cycle, all of that is connected to being a storm that brings life-giving rain instead of destruction. Each of these Sefirat are also connected to one of the blessings in the Amidah, in the silent standing prayer. And if you look in a Sephardi Siddur, underneath the last name of Hashem in each of the blessings, there's a certain combination of vowel points, nikudot, and each of these are connected to the sefira that is of that blessing, of that bracha. And the reason is, which we'll get into in a second, that each of the vowels, each sefira has a sound vibration that it's connected to, and a vowel, one of the Hebrew vowels. So in the blessing in the Amidah is the one that's connected to Netzach, is Mevarech Hashanim, the blessing that is about the abundance in the land. And what we're praying for is basically, God, please bestow the land with abundance of grain, of sustenance. And the Gemara, when it goes through all of these different blessings, it gives kind of a deeper meaning behind the blessings. This is in Megillah 14a or b, I believe, where in this bracha it says, what's the purpose of this bracha? It says the purpose of this bracha is to counter the price gougers, to counter basically unhealthy capitalism in modern day terms, right? Because modern day capitalism, or consumerism maybe is a little bit more precise. Consumerism is the idea that I am not complete, I am lacking, I am showing up to life from a place of scarcity, and therefore I need to buy more and more and more. And in line with that, right, the law of supply and demand, right? The more we buy, the more things cost, right? So this whole system of consumerism is really built on the premise that you lack, and therefore you must buy. And the more you buy, the more I will raise the prices. And really, there's not enough to go around in the world, and therefore you should be scared. So this bracha of Mevarech Hashanim, the abundance of the land, is really a call it's a call to step into a stance of abundance, to show up in the world with abundance. Because when we do that, right, that's the root of Netzach, and allows us to really become a storm that brings the rain, and as opposed to destruction. Right? It allows us to harness our power and our might and our energy and put it into productive, healthy places as opposed to taking. Right? We can dominate in ways that cause pain and destruction, or we can support in ways that bring the entire system, the entire ecosystem up into balance. And we can only do that when we show up from a place of abundance instead of a place of scarcity. Very directly connected to that is this sound vibration of the chiruk, of the E. And it's the E sound, and maybe everyone can do it with me together with your muted microphones. Just get into a posture, sit up straight, really open your diaphragm. Maybe even close your eyes so you can feel the vibration in your body, and just let out an E. And I hope maybe you can play around with later, try the different vowel sounds. Maybe let's just try together the patach, the ah. So I'll do that together. And just notice the difference the experience, how it's different. And let's go back to the E. So I don't know if you noticed, it's very subtle, right? And it takes really being in a slightly meditative state, but I feel energized. And as opposed to the patach, which is a little bit more relaxing, the E is energizing, and it's very precise. It's really a sound of precision, and the way that it's written even shows this. The chiruk is a one dot underneath, centered in the middle of the word. And it really expresses a lot of these ideas that we've been talking about right now connected to Netzach, and it really teaches us a lot about Netzach. One is that this dot is very precise, right? It's a real precise movement of energy and power. And the second is that in its humble smallness, it doesn't take up too much space. In its humble smallness, it actually shows up to the world from a stance of abundance. It knows exactly who we are, who it is. It knows its value, right? It doesn't have to be 2 or 3. It doesn't have to be a long line. It's just a very simple dot. And what that allows is also allows other room for other vowels to also be there, right? So part of being a life-giving storm as opposed to a destructive storm is not overbearing, not over-dominating in any one situation or with one person, but really being able to support and bring out the power and the might of other people. That's really what Netzach is all about. The direction that's connected, each of the spheres is connected to a certain direction also, and the direction of Netzach is above, right? And there's a lot of different ways that we can understand this. One is that when we look above, there's a movement of, well, first of all, we're full of hope and we're standing a little bit taller perhaps. But there's also a humility that's in there, also a proper humility, not the same as Hod. Hod is looking downwards. Hod is the downward movement. Netzach is up, and also the above is the place of the sky, which is eternal. The stars is the place of the stars, which the light that's reaching our eyes is thousands and millions of years old. Right, so even that shows an eternality, and there's a sense of eternality when we look at the stars at night, also, and the planets, of course, and the sun and the moon and all these things. The sky, there's a great strength that the sky gives us when we look up, It gives us a strength, lots of other things. And there's many other things that we can talk about, but maybe let's talk about the archetype of Netzach, the spirit guide of Netzach. Each of the Sefirat is connected to a certain personality, a character from the Torah that really personifies this Sefirah. And whoever's been following in the Dance of Omer in my book has hopefully seen this, that really the person that was chosen to be the archetype, the chariot, the personification of a certain Sefirah is usually, well, I'd argue always, not the person that was born naturally into that state, into that Sefirah. It's actually the person that's been the opposite of that Sefirah, naturally is the opposite of that Sefirah, and had to work their entire life to actually get to that Sefirah. And that framing, I find, is much more helpful, because as opposed to standing somebody on a pedestal and saying, okay, there, yeah, of course, that person, yeah, of course that person's Netzach. He's always been Netzach. He was born to be Netzach. He never wavered from Netzach his entire life. Right. So what are we supposed to do with that? It's like, okay, yeah, we look at this person as an unattainable, trait or person that we can't, what are we supposed to do that? But on the other hand, if this person really struggled to get to that place, then it's a whole different story, and we can learn a whole lot of lessons from this person. And you can see this in all of the stories. It actually even brings a lot of clarity to a lot of the difficult stories that we find, right? For, an obvious example that people all the time ask me is Avram is chesed. What are you talking about? He banishes Hagar. He's, destroying the world. He's, all these different things. How is it possible? So what he just says, you're right. He was struggling with that. It was a process. It was a long journey, but he ultimately got there. So let's see how this is true with Moshe. With Moshe, it's actually maybe the most obvious. It's the most clearly obvious. There's a lot of teachings that were taught about Moshe from the Baal Shem Tov, from different streams, that have taught that Moshe actually was not born a tzaddik. There's other stories, of course, that Moshe was born, completely a tzaddik. But the Midrash teaches that first, that when Moshe was a baby, he reached out, instead of going to the he reached out to grab jewels, right? To really, he just wanted the wealth and the power, right? Which is not exactly Netzach. It's a fallen state of Netzach, perhaps. But as we get older, we see actually that Moshe, most of his life, was running from responsibility and running from stepping into leadership. He kills an Egyptian. Also, not really Netzach. It's maybe the fallen state of Netzach, but doesn't really show the precision or the healthy display of power. But then he spends, most of his life, 2/3 of his life, out running away in the desert, being a shepherd, running from responsibility. And even when he's called to responsibility by God's self, right, comes down and says, you're the one. He says, no way. That's not me. I'm out of here. No way. And he tries to run away again, right? And as opposed to Aaron, actually, right? Aaron is Hud, but Aaron actually, most of his life was Netzach, right? Most of his life, until he's 80 years old, was leading the Jewish people, according to the Midrashim, according to the tradition, in Egypt, leading the Jewish people, taking responsibility. So tonight is not about Aaron, but you can read in the book about Aaron. But Moshe, so Moshe has to go through this real transformation, this hard transformation. And he says, okay, fine, I'll answer the call. I'll step into responsibility. I'll step into power. But as we know, as we see, he doesn't get it right all of a sudden right away, right? He messes up, and there's a lot of complaining going around. And he hits the rock. He retreats. He actually almost gives up a couple times, right? And we actually learn from Moshe how to be persistent, how to have stamina, how to have endurance, right? He doesn't get everything right. It's not that he's perfect and he doesn't fall. He actually falls and falls hard, but he keeps getting back up. He keeps getting back up. And the ultimate lesson or learning that Moshe gets in the transformation, and this you'll see this happens in most of the people's lives, in most of these spirit guides of the different Sefirat, that towards the end of his life, right, he's been working persistently, courageously, with confidence for the past 40 years to bring the Jews through the desert. And finally, they're at the banks of the Jordan River. I guess the rivers of Babylon, the wrong river. He gets to the Jordan, and he wants to go in. And the rabbis teach that he's prayed, and he started praying over and over again, and 515 times in 515 different ways, using 515 different words and phrases, which already is quite a lot of persistence and stamina, right? And to let him in, God, let me in. Come on. This is what you sent me for. And God tells him, according to our rabbis, according to Chazal, he says, Moshe, if you pray one more time, I'm gonna have to let you in. You'll get there. You'll get it. I'm gonna say yes. But I'm telling you right now, this is not the best thing for you, for the Jewish people, for the world. So if you do this, I'll let you in. But it's not the right thing. It's not going to be good. And so in that moment, Moshe really becomes the personification of Netzach. He steps in and he says, okay, you know what? This is what I really want. Okay, I won't do it. Really using Netzach. And in that moment, what really allows him to step into Netzach and what all of these layers that we've been talking about, he grants the Netzachness to the rest of the Jewish people, right? Because just like he allows the Jewish people to stand up on their own. He gives them power. He gives them confidence. He gives them strength and energy to go in and conquer the land, right? Just like in any parent-child relationship, if you overburden, if you are a storm that destroys and basically knocks, either overgives in a way where the child doesn't have opportunities to fall, and opportunities to learn on their own, and opportunities to build up their own confidence, or you cushion them, right, too much so they don't do the same thing, or you don't force them, you act in ways that they don't have any need to take responsibility in their lives, then you're leaving them a little bit handicapped, right? They're not going to be able to go confidently and successfully and masterfully into the world. And so too with Moshe and the Jewish people, that last moment, that stepping deeply into Netzach from a place of abundance, because had Moshe not been connected to it from a place of abundance, but from a place of scarcity, he would have said, okay, well, I want to go in. Okay, give me more. But the abundance that Moshe was tapping into really allowed him to say, okay, Zeu Dainu, enough, and I don't need to go in that moment granted the rest of the Jewish people for all of eternity the power to stand up on their own 2 feet. So, how much time do I have left?
You have about 5 minutes left of the official shiur.
Perfect. Okay. So, to tie all of this in, let us do an exercise. It happens to be the exercise of yesterday/today, depending on where you are in the world. If the sun is still shining in the sky, or the day before. And it's really a teaching about abundance, and really, well, let's explain it after a bit more. So as we explored, right, Netzach is about being able to envision our goals, build a plan to get to our goals, have the confidence to get to our goals, all these different things. So I invite you to close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. Slip a little deeper into yourself. And I want you to think about maybe a difficult situation that you've been facing recently. Maybe a goal that you've had it's been challenging to achieve. Maybe a certain relationship. Challenging situation. I want you to think about what is the resource that you would need, that if you had this thing, it would be a piece of cake. You'd be successful, you'd be victorious, you'd have the stamina, courage, confidence. What is that thing that you would need to be able to face this challenge, this situation masterfully and achieve your goal? Maybe it's a little bit more acceptance, appreciation, love, confidence, respect, self-respect. What is it? Raise your hand if you have it. Keep your eyes closed. Okay. Now, I want you to allow your mind to slip back in time to a time in the near past, the recent past, or the far distant past, a time when you had this resource. Maybe it's a similar situation and you were able to overcome it. Some moment in the past where you had this resource. You were filled with it. You were acting from it. You were living aligned from it. Bring up that image from that memory. Bring up that scene. Notice what your facial expression looks like in that memory. Your body posture. What did it feel like? How did you walk? How did you talk? How did you hold yourself? And as you're looking at that image, that memory, give that resource, that trait, a color. What color is it? Red, green, purple, yellow. And imagine seeing in that memory you full of that energy, that trait. Imagine your body in that memory filling up with that color as well. Take a few deep breaths and allow that memory to dissipate into the past. Feel the weight of your feet on the ground, the weight of your body on the chair or cushion. Come back to this moment. Feel, maybe open up your awareness to sounds around you. And open your eyes when you're ready. Take a few deep breaths and open your eyes when you're ready. Okay, great. Now, I want you to just count from 10 to 1 backwards. Just in your head. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Look around the room. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, great. Okay, now I want you to close your eyes again and imagine your body right now filling up with that color. And as your body fills with that color, every crevice, also with that color comes this resource. You just tasted a little bit of it from that memory. It's really, as you're filling up with this color connected to this resource, really feel this resource filling you right now. Notice the shift in your facial expression, in your body, in your posture. And perhaps, if you're willing, maybe even imagine yourself right now in this future situation or present situation. Play a little video of you right now facing this situation the way that you want to be facing that situation. And vision yourself filled with this color. Your body is filled with this color as you play this movie. And you're succeeding, you're victorious, you're doing so masterfully, making space for the other person or people in the situation. With ease, with confidence, with courage. Take a few more seconds to really feel that, play it out. And when you're ready, take a few deep breaths, come back to this moment. Feel the weight of your body on the chair, become more aware of the sounds around you. Take a few more deep breaths, and when you're ready, open your eyes and come back. Okay, look around the room, count down to 10, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and so what we just hopefully experienced and discovered is that we actually are abundant. We actually have at our fingertips all of the resources that we need to succeed and to respond and show up masterfully. Right? We have everything we need. It's just sometimes we have a little difficulty accessing those resources, those character traits. And so my gift is to you all and whoever is watching this now, this practice to call up and bring that abundance of energy and traits into your life whenever you wish and call. There's a few more steps. I rushed through it quite quickly for the sake of time. I went over a bit. So I give us a bracha to, in this week of Netzach, to really feel our power and for us to really become a storm of life-giving rain instead of destruction, and step powerfully and confidently and masterfully and precisely and beautifully and humbly and triumphantly into our lives, towards our goals, and through that also support everyone else's goals, and together create a more dignified and masterful and beautiful world. Thank you very much.
Amen. Amen. Benji, thank you. For those of you who are not so familiar with Benji's Dance of the Omer book, the exercise, the meditative exercise that we just went through, imagine engaging in these kinds of practices repeatedly throughout 7 weeks, and the incredible doors and windows of clarity into yourself and into the world around you that will open up. I mean, again, this was a little sampling of my own personal experience through Sefirat Omer 2 years ago, which led to this moment of the second annual Omer Aliyah. So Benji, I cannot express how grateful I am. We all are. And for those of you who really do connect with Benji's teaching style, and want a truly transformative, very immersive Sefirat Omer experience, please reach out to me and I will point you in the direction of Benji, who also has his own Sefirat Omer program, which again is very in-depth and very focused using that Netzach energy. So thank God we live in a day and age with multiple opportunities and platforms for multiple levels of engagement. And again, thank you, Benji. This was truly fantastic.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to stop the recording now. And for those of you who are still watching on YouTube, B'ezrat Hashem, we'll see you next week for Hod.